Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Matrix Live, episode 10 and 11, because, well, we've been out of action for almost all of the last 2 weeks. You may notice we've got a guest with us today. This is, do you want to introduce our guest?
This is Calix, this is my dog, and he plays the role of office dog from times to times. He's very happy, and everyone is very happy.
Yes, Eric, I think is particularly overexcited that we get an office dog occasionally, although it does mean we spend most of our days covered in dog hair and getting distracted rather than doing useful stuff. Oh god, this is going to be a nightmare. If you've lost your voice, I can barely speak to this fellow. Basically, after we came back from Austria 2 weeks ago, we ended up with having picked up a really nasty flu of some kind, which is continuing to manifest itself in various different ways. So sorry, sorry for missing the slot last week, but I don't think either of us were in the office or alive, and I can't really remember that week at all. And on the plus side, it means this will be quicker because we have less to talk about because we can't remember what happened. You want to start us off with Riot Web?
Yeah, I'll start with Riot Web. So we're still plugging away on preparing Node 14, and it's very, very close now. We can taste it, but not there yet. Still perf stuff ongoing. We've been also doing some lazy loading experiments for some experiments for the lazy loading of the memberships. So let's see if this will impact the performance and if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, this isn't for, it's not for 0.14.
No, it's just try.
But roughly it speeds everything up by a factor of about 3 to 5 so far, based on what we've seen, and actually fixed the server-side bit of it last night and been playing with it today. It's not perfect, but it's definitely quite usable. And it basically lists on the right-hand side the users who are needed to view the current page, and rather than listing all 20,000 members who you might not care about. And it reduced my RAM down by about a factor of 2.5, which has got to be good too.
Yeah.
But it's a way off. I think on 0.14, I'm trying to remember what remains.
I think it's mostly perf work from Dave, right?
No, it's landed now. I think it's mainly regressions, to be honest. So yeah, we're basically in the final testing phase and fixing regressions, but it is looking much, much better.
Yeah.
So I should see that. I'm going to guess next week, but I got told off for saying things will happen next week because I'm an optimistic kind of guy. But at some point in the near future, hopefully we'll see it.
Yeah. And Synapse has been quite some fun happening.
Yeah. Oh god, do I really need to talk about Synapse now? You can tell us about Riot Mobile, it'll be more fun.
Okay, so Riot Mobile did actually land the releases on both iOS and Android. So it was mainly stability and perf work. There was also a contribution from Joey Watts on the quick replies on iOS. And
we tried to demo that, didn't we? Should we try demoing it again? It's never going to work, is it? So send me a message, and if I actually get a push this time, I might try to actually.
We tried last time, yes.
Well, this time it's going to work. First sign of madness to keep doing the same thing and expect a different response. Just send me a message. Or did you already?
I did.
Cool. Okay, well, we can continue talking once we hope that push notification actually arrives.
On the Android, most of the improvements was one big improvement is the mess with the notifications. We should fix all the sticky bits, which were really, really annoying. Hopefully this will be helpful.
This was a mess on Android 8, I think.
Yeah, it's
combined with F-Droid, and I still don't understand what the root cause is.
It's how Google manages notification on Android 8, which basically broke everything else. And now you can configure whether it's doing background sync or not, and decide if you it's a bit of a compromise between handing over your unencrypted data to Google and actually getting synchronizing notifications. But I think the guys are still working on improving the privacy bits if you don't want synchronizing notifications.
I just realised why this might not be working.
Because everything is down.
No, it's not down for once, I hope. Touch wood. I think you might need to bring me by name.
Ah, yes, because you're not getting...
Okay. Hopefully this might actually work. So, Andy sent me Matthew, exclamation mark. And you really kind of hope that might come through to my notice. Okay, well, again, we can come back to that. So, I mean, I've got to talk about Synapse now.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, I don't know where to start, really. The last 2 weeks have been an awful lot of operational hell, basically. Either trying to keep matrix.org up or doing performance work emergency-wise to keep it up. Keep running out of CPU room, and so landing more and more and more optimizations in order to go and try to improve that. But also we've been running out of disk space, both on the media store and Postgres, which I think is now mitigated. We had drama with malformed events taking out anybody who was in hash off topic on matrix.org last night, which is a wonderful way to spend one's evening. Folks, if you feel the urge to fuzz Synapse, and I'm sure there is scope for many interesting malformed data attacks on it, please do it on a local home server and not on a publicly federated one, especially in a big room with lots of other servers. Because if you do find a bug, then we don't want to break it for everybody else. And if you do find bugs like this one, which was a bug in one of the optimized JSON libraries we use, it turns out that it chokes on larger than 64-bit numbers, then please disclose it responsibly to us by emailing security@matrix.org or DMing me or something like that, rather than causing chaos for everybody and killing everybody's evenings. And then this morning, to cap it off, we had a proper distributed denial of service attack with somebody chucking us, or trying to chuck us gigabits of SYN floods and SNMP reflected UDP traffic, which was enough to cause major problems for a few hours until it dissipated. We have now spent the rest of the day doing an emergency migration over to Cloudflare, so that we can use their anti-DDoS mechanisms, which frankly isn't ideal. We'd much rather that we weren't using someone like a centralized big service like Cloudflare for all of our DNS and TLS. We'd rather keep running it ourselves like we have been doing, but under the circumstances, between the risk of being taken offline by DDoSes and compromising our ideology and going and using Cloudflare, I'm afraid the pragmatism is winning on this one, and that should be being switched over in the next couple of hours. Good news, however, is on performance on on the Synapse side of things, where Eric and VDH have been just blattering away, desperately getting back CPU, especially on Eric's side. We've had some major breakthroughs of switching out the event creator to be a separate worker, which I think had just gone live 2 weeks ago. Now it's not just gone live, but also winning us headroom in that all of the event creation, including for state events, so including membership changes, is now handled off the main Synapse process on this worker. And this is a huge amount of work, and it's immediately improved things when it went live a few days ago. It's now much, much faster to join and part rooms in general, like it suddenly like being 2-3 years ago in terms of the snappiness. But more importantly, it means that freenode has to try a lot harder to fall behind. Of course, the second that we put this live, we all slapped ourselves on the back and said, woohoo, we've got headroom again. At which point, in the middle of the day, freenode suddenly fell behind by an hour or something. And it turns out that it's because freenode was sending us 500 membership changes a second due to a net split. So you just can't win, basically. But since that dissipated, we seem to be back in a somewhat more stable state again. Next step, there is still more work to be done here, is that we can move state resolution from the master to the event creator worker, which should speed things up even more. And also we can shard these event creators and so scale them up horizontally. And then we're almost approaching, I think, the platonic ideal of the architecture that Synapse can stretch to. And hopefully it will buy us enough time to go and finish Dendrite, as we've been saying for the last year. Other news, we've actually cut a release for 0.27 with all of this good stuff. That's a release candidate as of yesterday. If there are no disasters over the weekend, we'll probably release it properly next week. Other good news is that we welcomed Mr. Delph, also known as Michael, to the team on Monday, and he's been locked away frantically writing Ansible playbooks to improve the overall ability to spin up both synapses and sidents and HA proxies and coturns and all the other good stuff that goes into a high quality matrix install. And once those are good to go, we'll start using them internally. We're also going to chuck them up on GitHub and make them an official way to rapidly spin up synapses. And I imagine that will also tie in with official Docker support, although I haven't checked where we're at on that yet.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have eventually.
Over to you.
Over to me. I've done all my bits.
Yeah,
I can talk about widgets because that's easy. We have sticker packs coming up very, 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 very soon. Same thing, basically blocked on Matthew reviewing PRs.
It's not totally blocked on me, to be honest. It's also blocked on getting the mobile apps to display stickers, which hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But there's been enormous amounts of polish on it, and it really is looking good. I think that Rick is going to be heading off into working on hosted home server offerings for Matrix in the very near future. But certainly for the last couple of weeks, we're at the point where sticker packs are going to be one of the most technologically advanced bits of all of Riot, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it will be fun.
Indeed. And some really fun stickers too. I'm not quite sure where they're all coming from. But,
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure I've seen all of them.
The new stuff. Well then.
We're back.
Good news is QuickTime apparently automatically does autosaving, as we just had to LSOF to find the autosave file after, for whatever reason, it just started beach balling to death. But sorry for the first ever interruption, I think, in a Matrix Live in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm stopping this amazing stream of consciousness. And I'm also, seriously, it's stealing my limelight. I've been replaced by a dog. It's just a matter of time. Just leave him. That's fine. As long as he doesn't try to eat the microphone or breathe noisily into it. Anyway, stick backs. Yeah, it's going to be great. Dendrite stuff. Lots of activity over the last couple of weeks, driven by the community, especially Anna, and thank you very much for driving things forward. We are trying to catch up with all the PRs as much as possible, but we're obviously been stuck in Synapse hell. I wonder what we can say about hiring and folks coming on board. Basically, we have folks who are coming into New Vector to work on Dendrite and Synapse and Spec and Riot and all sorts in the fairly near future. But we'll give an update once we've actually worked out who is signed and who's starting and all that sort of thing. And finally, Spec. On Spec stuff, we've had some work on the lazy loading optimization stuff that Andy mentioned earlier. Other proposals, especially governance. Actually, we had a meta-spec discussion about trying to define the kind of core values technically for the spec itself. Like, do we prematurely optimize, or do we try to just get a architecturally robust but not implementation optimized thing out the door? And do we optimize for genericity, or do we go for domain specificity, all that sort of thing? had an interesting chat about that, which I think I probably need to write up. But basically, most of the proposals are stuck between governance, event formats, well-known URIs, and have been basically a victim for everyone being ill over the last couple of weeks, at least on our side. So sorry for lack of updates there. We'll hopefully have more progress soon. Is that it?
I think so. I think so.
Do you have any events coming up or anything?
There is the Pathfinder thing on 27th of March in London. The Pathfinder Crypto Economics event, where I will be talking in a panel about data ownership and privacy, basically. And then what else do we have? There is a recruiting event in Rennes at La French Tech, the 5th of April as well.
A couple of meetups coming up, which we're speaking at. I think there's a Go one and a Kafka one. I don't have the details, but look on Twitter for those. And otherwise, yeah, things are progressing relatively well. All of the work and performance on all the different platforms, I think, is really starting to pay off and kind of back almost to where we were about a year ago in terms of performance. Yay! Forward progress.
Yeah, but how many?
With lots and lots of new features too.
And active users too.
Oh yeah, of course. And yeah, traffic just keeps going through the roof, which has got to be a good thing. Especially thanks to Slack for going and killing off their IRC and XMPP, which has obviously brought a huge influx of people into Matrix.
Yeah,
so
it is good.
Oh yeah, and I guess there was a lot of interest in Matrix IRCD as a Rust project for allowing people to connect to Matrix via the IRC protocol. If you want to work on that, we don't have anybody working on it ourselves, so real contributions, contributors welcome. Cool.
I think we'll stop boring you with our
low energy,
deadness. Crazy.
End of week out.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Are you going to say bye-bye, Calix? Say au revoir. Say bye-bye.
Calix. Yeah.
There we go.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.